There we go. There's your basic safety warnings. As you can see, absolutely no swimming. Let's see if there's a temptation once we get down there. And of course, looking across, I think that's the American power plant. And as Jeff pointed out, cliffs on our side, they've been heavily scaled in the 60s for safety reasons.
Back in the 1960s, there used to be a huge overhang that the Parks Authority decided to cut off for safety reasons, but really it didn't need to be done.
So is that what's down there?
That's where all the debris came from.
Look, yep, that was all knocked off in the 60s.
Yep.
Yep. Now, Wolfman also did a really good video in this area, and apparently there's a face up in the cliff somewhere around here. I'm going to just keep my eye out for it. Looks like some kind of tufa deposits up there again. I think that's, yeah, tufa. Different from travertine, which is deposited with heat and so forth. But anyway, on with the journey. They say 1/5 of the world's fresh water passes down through this gorge. So take that statistic however you want. That's the old Niagara Gorge Railway along there. There was some kind of a disastrous thing many years ago. It's no longer used. Sometime in the past, the Niagara Gorge actually followed an alternate route. It's now a buried canyon, St. David's Gorge. It follows up in this direction and eventually connects off to Lake Ontario by an alternate route. So I think it cuts through, is it Thorold maybe? Have a look at it from the other side. I think this is a little helipad here. Basically, as Jeff said, if you fall in the water, here's where they come to get you. They fished out a number of drowned people who'd gone over the falls, and no doubt removed them from here. They had a recent case where a young boy went in by mistake from a capsized boat, went over the falls. They managed to fish him out. I think it was the Maid of the Mist, the boat at the bottom there, that actually fished him out. So again, you can see the railway there. So up at the top there of the gorge, maybe I don't know if you probably can't even see the very top. It's a layer of Lockport dolostone. It's kind of like a cap rock, and I know there are some caves on the American side in that sort of rock, but as you go down, there's layers of mudstone, sandstone. I can see a couple of pieces here of the actual Queenston shale. You know, typically the colors being red and green at the contacts, the bedding plane contacts. So I mean, makes for some interesting little waterfalls. And here we're just looking at kind of a mush of decomposing shales. You know, ends up as kind of a sticky goo, which is quite slippery. And of course, when we're talking waterfalls, the harder the rock, like the Lockport dolostone, the more likely the waterfall is to hang out and just plunge. Whereas when you get these shales that are easily eroded and mudstones, it's more laid back at a less than 90-degree angle. Look at that, there's your classic join between the Queenston shale there. Green overlying red. And of course, we're always looking for cave possibilities, so we've got sandstone laying up above it. Yeah, quite interesting. Neat. Kind of thinking to myself, it might make some good YouTube video if I could convince Jeff to take a dip around here. It would certainly be cold at the very least. Here's kind of a bizarre statement. Check out all the debris, like pop bottles, and this is what's coming down the Niagara River. Ow! You know, flip-flops again. I mean, that's a weird thing. Down in Mexico, shoes and flip-flops everywhere along the beach, all washed up. I don't know what goes on with them. Anyway, obviously the river must get a lot higher. Here we are, right at the final stretch of the rapids before the actual so-called whirlpool. Pretty intense. That's about as close as you're going to get to the rapids in the Niagara Gorge on my YouTube video. Just a roar, just the noise and the power. I'm looking back there. imagine coming down here in a kayak. Not many have done it. You know, you're looking at, you know, about a 6-foot swell there, breaking up about 6 feet into the air. See the pothole. It's kind of broken open along the one side. There we are. There's your rapids. Very unpredictable. The water just keeps sweeping upwards, just kind of unexpectedly. Almost like a, you know, like a tide or something. So, would it be delusional to think that that's something you'd like to do on an inner tube? I don't know. I mean, they say you can't stay above the water in these kind of rapids. I don't know. I think I could do it. I'm not saying I would. But I mean, a great big tractor inner tube, why not? Extreme mountain biking, what do you think? Everything worked out for the guy. See what I mean about how the water, jeez, kind of comes up, right? Look at this. That is one heck of a hole. The Niagara Gorge, look at that. Yeah, I kind of see that's not what I'll do on a tractor inner tube. I got a bad feeling about it. Wouldn't end well. Off you go down the river. Or like the cyclist, stopping right here. Me again. While we're down here, I've actually written a book in 2005. It was called Rock Watching. That's it right there. Published by Boston Mills. It covers a lot of the geological hikes and trips you can take around Ontario. In particular, there's a chapter on the Niagara Gorge. So, reading from the book, a brief description of the geology. The view is possibly the most complete picture of the Silurian strata that you will see in Ontario. A thin shelf of Lockport dolostone caps the gorge. A barely recognizable strip of Deku limestone underlying it. The bottom of the Deku formation is all mudstone, while at its top it is pure dolostone. This demarcates the transition from clastic silt to reef deposits. So it's kind of technical in some ways, but also there's a lot of general information that's quite interesting. Another reminder just that I learned in my book, just having a quick look there. The falls are actually going backwards at about 3 feet a year, retreating back upriver towards Lake Erie. So another little plug here. This is my book, Caving in Ontario. Of course, we're down here looking for caves by Michael Gordon, the book. I'm putting out a second edition, I would imagine, within the year. Fascinating. If you like caves, there's your book, Caving in Ontario. Just amazing. This is Lake Erie, draining down here. Kind of intermittently, just kind of blows up into the air like a geyser. Look at this. Just amazing. You see all the pitting there, like the sort of cavities, that makes it a dolostone. The difference between, say, a dolostone and a limestone, the dolostone is like a sponge. Water absorbs through the dolostone like a sponge, whereby limestone, you've actually got crevices and cracks down which the water will flow. They say a limestone has a tight interlocking crystal structure, unlike dolostone, porous like a sponge. In the gorge, you're really just kind of going through all the boulders and that kind of thing. You know, it's all over. It's quite difficult. What do you think, eh? Real good Canadian scene. I think if you live near Toronto, it's definitely something you should see, especially from down at the bottom here. Very spectacular. Apparently at this spot the river's about 30 feet deep, and you've got about, I think it says here, I'm looking at a sign, approximately 5,000 cubic meters of water enters the Niagara River from Lake Erie. Of this amount, about half of it is diverted for electric power generation. So the water's reaching a speed of 35 kilometers an hour. 22 miles an hour. Check that out. I don't know what I think they're suggesting don't climb over the rails. So So guess what this is? I'm thinking it's part of the train from the Gorge Railway. It's laying here. I don't know, is that the boiler? Or is it a boiler? I'm going to get up closer and have a look, but very cool. Looks like the train, yeah. I think this is part of the Great Gorge Railway train. Look at it. It's definitely a boiler of some type. It's got those sort of boiler-like pipes in it. And here it sits in the Niagara Gorge. I don't know how it could have floated across the river, but oh well. There it is. Fascinating. Wow. So it seems kind of an appropriate spot to tell the story of the Great Gorge Railway. Here's little bits and pieces of the train laying under a rock. Where's the name you mentioned, Jeff? What's it say? I can't even read it.
Yeah, it's hard to say.
Yeah. Anyway, we're down here. Check this out. This is the actual train itself, I think. Yeah, it's got to be, right? Looks like a giant toilet seat up top. I don't know. But, you know, quite a fascinating thing. Did it float across the gorge? It came from the American side. I don't know. Unlikely. The story being, in 1935, you had about 5,000 tons of slate and shale collapsed down from the top of the gorge, buried the railway. I mean, the railway being plagued with a number of bad issues, anything from landslides killing people. I think 9 people died in a collapse. That may have been it. Sewage explosion from underneath the line showered everyone in sludge. But either way, fortunate to find this. You know, you can look up that way. You can see exactly where it's lying down here in the bottom of the gorge. Quite fascinating. And of course, you know, the use of automobiles decreasing the need for people to use the train for sightseeing. Quite an interesting spot. They say the water